Income tax time can be stressful enough, but there are two varieties of tax-related fraud that can turn the whole process into a complete nightmare. Here with some important tips is Howard Schwartz, the Executive Communications Director of the Connecticut Better Business Bureau. Welcome back, Howard. Nice to have you here.
Thanks so much, Teresa.
So how big of a problem is tax fraud are we seeing this year?
It's a bad problem. It's a big problem, and it's getting worse. They give you an example of the depth and breadth of the problem. In the first 3 months of 2013 alone, the IRS worked with more than 200,000 cases to try and straighten out the mess that was caused by someone else stealing their ID, filing an income tax return on their behalf. Now, the types of fraud are broken down into two categories, really. One is email, and the other is telephone calls. And why don't we start with the telephone calls?
Sure.
You receive a couple of messages or a direct phone call from someone claiming to be from the IRS, saying that you owe money.
And you probably panic at that point, and I would assume return the phone call.
You absolutely, well, people try to, but they leave fake numbers. And what they do when they leave the messages is they're hoping that when they do call, you're frightened out of your mind. And I'll tell you, they'll have you arrested, they'll quote a badge number, and get this, they will even play background noise so it sounds like they're calling you from an office.
That's awful.
It's terrible. And
what a scam.
that sense of fear is what drives us. But then there are the phishing emails, and they look very good. I've received a few with logos from the IRS and other government departments saying they need to update my information, which they should have by now after all these years, and they want you to click on a link. And if you do, that's going to take you to a lookalike site where they'll ask you for all of your information, and you've just set yourself up for identity fraud.
Wow.
So all we have to remember is the IRS, other government departments, financial institutions will never, ever initiate a phone call or an email or if there's a problem. And certainly with your tax return, they're going to notify you by mail and give you the chance to at least challenge it.
All right, words to live by there. So if you're bringing your taxes to, say, an H&R Block or a Liberty or whatnot, even though you're kind of handing it off to someone, it's still your ultimate responsibility, the final product.
Oh, that's right. The IRS doesn't care really
who
made
does
the
it, right?
Exactly. So you have to pay for it. And what you should be doing when you're looking for a tax preparer is you want to know, first of all, that they're not claiming they can get you a larger refund than anyone else. How would they know that until you see your paperwork?
Sure.
That they'll base their fees on a percentage of your refund, that you have the refund check sent to them for distribution to you. We've had some problems with that. Or they ask you to pre-sign an empty tax return and claim that they will send it out for you after. And you're just asking for trouble with that. You have to see that return before it's sent out and make sure everything is in order.
Right, and the Better Business Bureau has put out kind of a checklist for people.
Yes, we have. The very first thing you should be looking for is a PTIN, which is a Preparer Tax Identification Number. That should be next to their signature at the bottom. And anybody who charges to prepare taxes will have that number and should put it in there. The other thing you should be doing is check their qualifications. Now, attorneys and CPAs and agents, they can represent you before the IRS for all kinds of matters. However, seasonal people who do taxes cannot. They can only represent you for returns that they prepared. Ask about additional service fees. For example, if the return is more complex than you thought, what will it cost you and what constitutes more complex than they thought? And review your documents. Make sure not only the tax return is complete, but that the W-2s are in there and everything else if someone's doing it for you. Again, we're responsible for it. And get contact information, because some people do it on a part-time basis for the season and then they're gone. And if you have a problem a few weeks or a few months down the road, you need someone to be there for you.
And Howard, you probably don't want to wait to the deadline. Maybe start getting this done soon?
Well, and especially because of the big data breach that we had recently with Social Security numbers stolen and everything else. I did mine by e-file, and then I had the refund within 7 days.
And you've already spent it.
Not quite.
Not quite. Oh, very good. Howard, thank you for being here. How can we get a hold of the Better Business Bureau?
You can reach us at bbb.org/Connecticut, spelled out, and that's the easiest way.
Very good. Thanks for the tips.